Hey guys, so clearly you can tell I'm at one of the food plots. This is actually at the Homestead property. This whole plot used to be just this narrow corridor right here that you can see that I'm pointing down and through. It got expanded, and you can, when I started the pan, you could actually see over here, there's a whole nother section of the food plot on the other side of these trees right here behind me. And this whole area got bulldozed open. You can kind of see where the line ends. We did a lot of cereal grains, oats, wheats, rye, whitetail salad, or a harvest salad by Real World right here. And then we also planted clover chicory in throughout here, and you can see some of that even coming up. And you can kind of see where the line ends. And then on that side of everything is where the brassica blend, more of a focus on brassicas, starts over there. And then you can kind of see, even, I don't know if you can tell, but all the way down on the end, then you can see some cereal grains start back up down there. It's doing really good. I'm really excited about the thickness of the oats and the cereal grains and the rye and the wheat coming up in here. This should be a really good food source. The apple tree's even producing more. We got more light in here. This could potentially be the year where we really start seeing the Homestead property being more of a destination almost style place, just because of the exorbitant amount of food. Hopefully this becomes a spot that they come to before they go to all the higher pressured areas around us with a lot of hunters in this area, and then they don't leave here until dark. So that's the hope. I'm gonna go ahead and walk on out here and see what I can find. I'm gonna go look at how the brassicas are coming up. It's a really sandy, loamy type soil, so we really need moisture, and we haven't really had much rain since we put this out. So now, I would have liked it to have been a little thicker. There are some spots that are pretty thin, but that can really be solved here in the next couple weeks. When we come back to fertilize, we'll also bring some winter rye, because that kind of grows the fastest and comes back up next year. So we'll probably grab a bag of winter rye or whatever cereal grains we have, and we'll just spread while we're spreading the fertilizer. While we're back here, we'll spread that and thicken up some of these thinner spots. But this looks awesome. Hey guys, real quick, I'm back now at the truck here at the Homestead property, but before I share with you guys why I'm actually here, even right now, let's take it on back to a video I shot, or at least some still pictures. I'm trying to remember if I shot a video or not, but let's take it on back to a stand that's hung right behind the house, overlooking what would be the west side of the food plots and a trail that leads into that big spot that I was just at. I love this stand. Just the vastness that you'll be able to see. Now, it's in a smaller tree, and we don't have much cover. I added some cover. I zip tied some cover down as well, and we can always add some more in the future too. But this stand is awesome because it's got only about a 20-yard entrance off the back of my parents' house, right behind the garden basically. And you'll be able to see almost the entire food sources. You won't be able to shoot to everything. You only really have 2 shots out in front of you, one down and to the left, and then one down and through the entire food plot. So late season firearms, if they're hitting the brassicas, I could really see that stand paying off. If it's really cold, we'll just hop in the ground blind. For the most part, similar winds can be hunted out of both, but if we see that they're using the pasture to the east, it'd probably be better to hunt the stand than the blind, because the blind you'll blow more right into that field or that pasture. So I don't expect them to use that. The neighbors are crazy up there, but hey. The reason why I'm here is kind of a twofold trip. I've always kind of shared with you guys where I think our best stand is, and believe it or not, it's not at the Homestead property, it's not at the river bottom, it's not at the swamp, it's not at the new 22. It's a stand that is only really rivaled by a stand we used to have, Old Faithful, which is on a 2.5 acre parcel to the northwest of my parents, which unfortunately we've lost that spot now for about 3 or 4 years. I killed, I think, my first 5 bucks out of that tree. And needless to say, it ended with some trespassing and issues like that. But anyways, the stand that I believe is actually better than even that stand if we would have known it. We've had access to this spot for maybe 4 out of the last 5 years, with 1 year where they wanted us to kind of take the year off, if you will. But what it is, it's to the northeast of the Homestead property here. So whenever I'm talking about it, I kind of include it in the Homestead, but it's actually about a 3-acre parcel of huntable woods behind about another 4 acres where their house is and everything. And we hunt literally about 20 to 25 yards from this old barn that's on the back part of their property. And if you zoomed out on a map, there is a big park to the west of my parents through about 40 to 50 acre chunk of woods, and there's a road that separates the two. If they come out of that park and cross that road, they can technically travel all the way down into the local town without crossing a road, a county road, for miles. It's crazy. If they cross just one more road, they can access pretty much everything. So, and the funny thing is though, this entire thing centers and then comes in through this strip of woods on the top of this hill that sets to the northeast of my parents, and it's the only pinch point that's not a front yard or crossing a county road that they can traverse through this spot. So our stand's right at the base of that hill, and it's an awesome spot. We don't own it, it's a neighbor. They have been wonderful as far as letting us hunt. We only can bow hunt, and there's been some restrictions some years on the time frame because she really loves to feed deer, take pictures of them and everything like that. But I actually have a book with some of our best trail cam pictures back there, both does and bucks and foxes and stuff like that. Laminated it, put it in a binder, thank you note, as well as a gift card, and I'm going to deliver that today and hopefully find out that we are able to hunt it this year. Typically the agreement is we can plan on hunting it unless we hear from them otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I am heading from here. I'm picking up seed, some brassica seed, and we're going to go check out the swamp property to see if the beans are starting to yellow, and if they are, we're going to broadcast 2 different sections out there. I'll explain why, and even if the beans aren't ready, we'll kind of discuss why we're doing it, where we're doing it, and hopefully pick out a stand location on the east side of the big woods for certain winds that we can't hunt the southern spot that we're going to overseed as well. So let's get to it. Hey guys, so we are at the swamp property now. Quick little tidbit, meeting went great with those homeowners. She absolutely loved the book, and we have wrapped that place up for another year. I even got offered possibly to buy the place in the future, so who knows. That's a God decision. We'll have to see what he opens up. But we are at the swamp property. I'm here on the southern edge of the large woods. Our food plot inside of the woods that you guys have seen us do recently is on up through the woods about maybe 40 yards that way. Before my truck battery dies, I'll be right back. Wanted to close that door. So the food plot's on that way about 40 yards. It's probably 50 yards or 60 even to the food plot, to the opening. It's about 40 yards, and we can see into it from our stand that's right here. I'm gonna check the camera, which I don't remember where it's at exactly. I believe it's down that way by a scraping tree that we hope the deer will visit and scrape in front of our stand, and we've got a shot to it at about 30 yards. But the reason why I'm here today is to see if the beans were ready. Only in some low spots. There was some yellowing going on up on the other side, which we're going to visit that here in a second. But down here on the southern side, it looks like, I don't know if I'm going to seed today. I'm going to walk through the rows and see. It's still pretty green. Now, I wouldn't put it much farther than a week or two before the yellowing effect really starts going in. So what I'm going to look for today is, what's the pod production look like in these beans? Does it look like they're pretty much fully developed and it's on its last stretch of being green? And if that's the case, I may seed today. We've got rain in the forecast 3 or 4 days out. Today is a Friday, and we've got rain Monday and Tuesday at 60% chance. Hopefully that grows. We haven't had a good rain in about a week and a half to 2 weeks. We've had a couple sprinkles, but so I know this edge looks like it might be ready to seed, so I'm gonna go ahead and pan the camera around to it and we'll see what happens. So I'm gonna shout so you can hear me, or hopefully you can hear me. This area right here, you can kind of see in front of the camera, is not nearly as tall as up in there. This little area right here, we could seed today, and I think I might, but I'm gonna go ahead and walk on out into the beans and see what they have, what story they tell out there farther. just the very bottom leaves are starting to yellow a little bit. If this was my property and my land, I probably would seed today. But I think I'm gonna give these beans probably at least another week or so. Some of the pods are not, I would say, over 60-70% developed yet. So, and we can always buzz out here. This is not gonna take long to buzz out here and broadcast some seed in here. So the ground it's ready. You know, these are Roundup ready soybeans, and he's come in and sprayed a couple times. It's a really good looking field. The seed bed's ready. And what we're gonna do is, so we've got the stand behind you about 8 yards away, and there's a strip of timber along this edge, and then you have the food plot bedding to the north, bedding across the beans to the south, and bedding to the west, if you will. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna plant a brassica blend that also has forage style brassicas in it too. So this is gonna be somewhat attractable during all of the hunting season, especially into the winter, when it starts getting cold, when the nitrate levels start dropping, or as you know it as the brassica is getting sweeter. This whole area, this strip, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go about 80 yards away from the stand that way and about 40 yards away from the stand this way, because I really would like those deer to feed down this way, so I want to offer a little bit more food that direction. That's my best peep shot all the way down and through. I have the farthest shot that way, and also it'll give me an ability to have them coming towards me, or in the evening if they come out they might feed that direction, which would be perfect for a quartering away shot. They also like to transfer up and down, north, south out of that southern bedding from here, so I'd like them to get here, and if there's more food option that way, once they hit the food in late season, they may feed away from me, which again creates that quartering away shot. So we're gonna do about 1/4 of an acre to 1/2 an acre worth of seeding here, and then we're gonna go on down over to this other side, and that side there was more yellowing occurring, different soil conditions and things like that, so we're gonna go see, after I check this camera, if that's ready over there. So we're here at the swamp property, and now I've come into the woods a little bit. I'm actually just south in that food plot that I have that we were talking about earlier. You can obviously tell where the most moisture gets held in this food plot. Although we have better germination for as little rain as we have had, we have better germination than I would have expected. I'm gonna go ahead and walk on down there, but it actually looks pretty good. The only spot that's kind of rough is here along this edge, and what we might want to do is maybe right before rain come in here with some oats or whatever really and get it down just to get something popping up on that part of the food plot. But we've got decent growth out here. We'll come in and fertilize and seed probably the same day. I went over to the edge of the soybeans on this side, and we're going to hit that up next. And actually, let's go ahead and head on over there and talk about that section. It's not quite ready to plant as well, but let's talk about what that option is going to be come late season. Hey guys, so we are now on the east side of the big woods. We've already been inside. You've seen the food plot and how it's producing, how it's coming up. You've been down on the stretch by the access road, and we were at the stand on the southern edge by the beans over there. So basically what we've got is the corner of the big woods where we're parked right now meets the corner of the little woods, which is what you see from the stand where we shot Junior out of at the access road. It's only about a stretch of a 3-acre square chunk of timber right there that meets then this larger 20-some acre chunk of timber that then wraps on up into a northern swamp marshland type bedding that then even extends further up off the property that we can't hunt into more marshland type swamp bedding up there. What we've got behind me now is a 7 to 12 acre worth of bean plot. It's basically a rectangle with a slight L behind me that you can't see. And this is another spot where we're gonna overseed these beans in hopes of having that late season food source that we don't have at this property outside of the food plot that's inside there. And that food plot at most is maybe 6/10 of an acre in size. So it's not even a full acre worth of food. The deer hit it, and they hit it hard, but we're not sure what the production is going to be like. We have good brassica plot started in there, and we're probably going to overseed that a little bit more. But one of the reasons why we wanted to try to multiply our points is on these smaller type properties like this, entrance and exit becomes huge in the late season because those deer could be feeding really late or be getting up while it's still sunny out, especially in the really bitter cold stages. You've got to get up the tree without really bumping them early. So but as I was discussing over at the southern side of the big woods in the beans where we want to overseed into those, we want to do the same thing here behind us. And one of the things that I have to decide is, or one of the things that I had to think about was, do I want to be north or do I want to be south of where I expect them to be coming out of the big woods? I don't expect a ton of travel coming from the direct southwest. They could cut through the little woods here, which that's kind of give or take. I think if they're going to come out of the swamp to the south, they're going to hit the plot over there most likely. That's where the most traveling that we've seen in the past has occurred. Now granted, we're always tracking movements. The property that we've had issues with to the east has seemingly slowed down. So they could start traversing the east side of this property more like we saw when we first got here a couple times, and maybe they've just been moving more to the center of it and going up and down that plot or the big ag field right there coming out of the big swamp because they felt pressured on each side. So we're gonna have to keep an eye. They may do that more, but predominantly when we're hunting this come late season when they're really hitting the brassicas, it's gonna be coming, the movement's gonna be coming to and from the northern bedding and over by the food plot. They're gonna come down through that oak flat that we have a stand in to hit over here. The reason why I don't wanna try to get inside that oak flat come that time of the year in late season is I wanna be on the fringes. I think they might bed right in here. Especially come late season when it's cold, they bed really close to the food sometimes. So having a stand along this edge here is going to be crucial to our success, I think, hunting the overseeded brassicas into this bean field. So the decision was to be either north or south of it, like I was saying, and with the predominant winds being here in northern Indiana from north and west come that time of the year, I want to be south of it, and I'll tell you why. This is a hard, dirt crushed down, you know, nothing grows in the tire tracks where the tractors, the four-wheelers, the Kubotas, and the vehicles go up and down the edge of this woods. Nothing grows right here. So my scent is not going to transfer to anything hardly at all. So me crossing where I think they might come out is not as big of a deal. Now granted, I'll probably put some Evercalm on my boots or maybe even incorporate a little bit of actual natural urine, maybe S&P, something like that I've discussed in the past. But being able to come down here, if I hunted to the north of it, now with any north wind, I've got to stay out because I'm going to be blowing right to them. With a west wind, I'd be okay, but north winds, I'd be done. But if I get to the south side of this now, I can hunt anything from a northeast clear through to a west-southwest where I'm blowing kind of basically to the east of me, and I can get a shot at them before they come out. But definitely from a northeast clear through to a west, I'll be golden. I have more wind options if I get south of where I expect them to come out. So, and I can kind of incorporate that. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to scout this edge that we have here for a good stand option. There's a lot of maples along here, and we all know maples lose their leaves. So what I'm going to have to look for is a cluster. Maybe a maple splits into 2 or 3, or maybe there's some cherries along here too. So maybe there's some cherries and maples that are growing tight together, and I can tuck a stand up in there. If I can find a good spot, I like where it's set up to where I expect them to move in and out of the big woods into the plot, that's where I'm going to hang the stand, and I may even do that today. But that's why I want to get to the south side of it, because you got to keep that in mind. What are the prevailing predominant winds that you're going to have come that time of the year? If for some reason we get an east wind, this stand's going to be null and void. And I can go hunt that stand if I expect them to be coming from the north or the south across the field, then I'm blowing down that line, and the only thing I may be hurting is anything that's bedded on off to the west, which is kind of hit or miss. There seems to be a small group of does that sometimes will use that, but hey, you're always blowing towards somewhere. You just got to kind of put it in the best favor of you and the deer. After I shut down the camera, I went ahead and gave Pops a call and talked about it, described to him the leaves and everything, and in his opinion, they're already starting to yellow. I agree with him. You know, looking out on this now, I walked out into the beans a little bit more, and they're definitely, some of the plants are already 60% yellowed. And I went back to the first spot I was, and I started looking at the bottom of the leaves, and there is some yellowing starting. So I feel comfortable going ahead and overseeding these, you know. And I started thinking about it. I said they were probably only about 7 days from needing this, so I decided to go ahead and do it. So you can basically forget everything I said about me waiting. I'm gonna go ahead and take advantage of while I'm here and hope that the rain on Monday and Tuesday hit, and I'm gonna go ahead and seed. So we're gonna get some brassicas in the ground today and get it done. So let's go. So a couple things changed. I said I wasn't gonna pick a stand, but I did. This is gonna be the stand hunting the movement to the overseeded soybeans on the east side of the big woods. There was not a lot of good options, guys. We're in a typical tree line on a farm where there's not any understory. And look how bare it is down there. There's just not much. The only thick spots are back behind me. Back behind that old stand, if you keep going, that's where the food plot is, and it gets thick right in there. You can kind of see where the light's hitting all those green leaves. But this tree line right here, there's an inner access road that the farmers used to use, and then that one on the outside by the beans. And there's about a 15-yard swatch of just young maples. It's basically all maples and young cherries throughout here. And then there's another maybe 25-yard stretch here, and then there's another path back behind here that used to lead out into an open area that they farmed a long time ago. Then it switched to pasture. Water table's so high we can't do much with it. We hope to eventually get a food plot in there sometime. But basically this is what we've got. There is not much cover. Basically you're relying on this and that, and I've got a cherry over here, and I've got another big boy right out in front of me, and you'll see back behind me I've got some bigger stuff. So basically I'm relying upon fighting my silhouette, fighting my movement with other trees. This is actually a dead maple in front of me that is like, I mean, it's right by my leg. However, it's great in that it's gonna block a lot of my movement here. I think if this thing proceeds to die anymore and it starts getting worrisome, what I'll do is I'll come in and I'll chop this thing off right about head high where I'm sitting. So then let me keep my hand there. That way when I stand up, if I need to swing my bow out and across right now, it's going to be tough to get the bow to shoot back behind me and to the left. Whereas if I cut that right here, it'll be right where my arm is, and my bow will be able to swing here, and I'll have more shot options back here. But this year we're going to just leave it. I don't want to deal with that right now. If this ends up being a good spot, that's something we'll do. And then down below, what I could do eventually is take this is the dead one, to this live one here, and I could put cedar branches or oak branches across here to hide even more movement. I got a lot of options up here to hang stuff too, so I'm not going to do that today. I'll save that for later on and we'll see what happens. But here, let me pan back behind me a little bit. So that's on to the south. As you go back down through there, you can probably faintly see that opening way back there. That's that big bean field that we were at and you saw me overseeding. And so basically, catty corner to my southeast is the Little Woods, and then on to the south is that big sanctuary. So this stands kind of in a hub of activity between it all. If they're coming to feed in the beans, I'll see them. If they come from the south and they come through the Little Woods, I'll see them. They'll pop out here. I may be able to call to them or something like that. If there's a buck traversing in here and using that corner to corner, the corner of the Little Woods to the corner of the big woods, I'll know, unless he sneaks along the southern edge of the big woods. If he even comes in behind me, I'll see him. If he goes back here is an oak flat, which we actually have a stand on that oak flat that runs basically between the food plot and that open pasture area I was telling you about. There's an oak flat that runs in there, and we have a stand in there, but it's kind of tough to get to. You gotta walk where you expect him to walk. It's kind of one of those spots I'm gonna save for all day sits. Depending on the wind, it could be a afternoon sit as well up in there to kind of observe what they're doing. If they're eating the acorns, it's a good spot to get to. But I like this spot. I don't like how open it is in front of me. Let me put you from my perspective. So it's very open and void right here. Right here, I mean, it's just, there's nothing protecting you. So gotta hope that most of the movement happens coming, like I suspect, from the oak flat behind me, or from the south up this line, or possibly even from the north up this line, or from the south. If they do funnel up that way, I'm hoping they stay to the timber and they're not really looking up at me. You got to remember, this is kind of an area where I think as long as I hold still, they're going to be kind of scooting through here. because it's kind of open, so we'll see. But I know this video didn't really do this justice, but I'll try to get some shots down low looking up at the stand, and hopefully you might be able to begin to see what I'm talking about. And I'll walk on back behind where I expect them to be coming from and film it coming up that way. So we'll see. So that's the oak flat right in there. And I expect this being one of the trails coming out to it. And you can see how the stand, you can see it. However, it's kind of covered up by all of those trunks that are up there. So, and I have a feeling by the time a deer gets right here, walking towards where the truck is, or even walking up this line, they're going to be pretty well covered, and I will have shot them by the time they know what's going on. There's another trail. Let me walk back here. There's another really heavy trail coming out of the oak flat right here. Loops right in there. Then again, right here, back up, and you can see how on this side I'm facing away from it, so they will not be able to see me, hopefully. And if they walk right here, I can fit an arrow right down through there, right through that opening. But say I don't, say I let them go by me, they're gonna walk up this way, and by the time they hit here, they're thinking bean field or food or something like that. They may stop right here on the other side of this access road right here, kind of scent check, sight check the beans. Well, look, I've already popped them. So it is open on this side, but hopefully what just happened, or what I just illustrated, will be what occurs. Nothing guaranteed. There's no saying that that will happen. However, fingers crossed that is what happens. Probably will brush it in just a little bit with dead branches, either from cedars or oaks. Again, the reason why I like oaks is their leaves die but cling to that branch. I have branches going on 2 or 3 years that still have oak leaves on them. Yeah, that's what we got, guys. Nothing guaranteed, but we'll see what happens. Just so you guys know, those ladder sections are about 4 feet tall, and I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the base, so I'm right around 20 feet high. That's kind of my minimum. I don't like going any lower than that. If I can get a little higher, I would. Right there, though, because of that dead branch and everything, I kind of liked where I was. Next year, I may go a little bit higher, which will alleviate some of that enclosure from that dead branch a little bit. Or if I feel like they're picking me off a bunch, I could always elevate it. I've got more of that ladder, and I could even add another one. So, yeah, God bless. So I want to end this video with this little bit of advice. You've heard me talk about how I'm going to be overseeding these beans. So many times, either I'll go to a property, or I'll get an email, or I'll get a contact, or I'll have somebody that I'm discussing with on a forum or on Facebook or whatever it might be. I was just at the pro shop the other day, and the pro shop owner, a good friend of mine, was talking about how his beans are, they're probably about a month away from yellowing, and I was like, well, what are you going to seed into them? And he just kind of looked at me blank stare. He's like, well, nothing. I'm going to have a good pods, great pods for late season. And I was like, well, what about in between the rows? That's one thing that so many people overlook, guys. You can increase the food that you are providing to the deer tremendously by seeding into these soybean plots. If this was my entire 7 to 10 acre soybean plot right here, I would probably be at this big junction. I'd grab a whole bunch of cereal rye because it's really cheap for me to get at the local ag seed store, and I would plant 90% of this. And then I'd plant a strip overseeded into this of brassicas along this edge that would make it easier to hunt the brassicas come late season. But there's food all throughout there. And then come spring green up, they'll hit the winter rye as it greens back up. And now I have taken where all I had was soybeans and the pods that were standing, no matter how many that is or how well it produced that year, I have now multiplied it and thrown brassicas and winter rye, or any cereal grain for that matter, out in there. That is such a crucial thing that I think so many people forget to do, that it boggles my mind. It's great. You're providing a really awesome, nutrient-dense, high-demand, warm season food plot with the beans, but that's it. And then you're getting good late season with the pods. If you had good pod production, Okay, multiply that. Make your place be just abundant with food. There are 3 things that deer need and crave, and that's food, water, and shelter. Maximize that food that you can. It is a complete waste of soybeans to just do soybeans. If you own the small property, or if you, like me, have permission, or you lease it, find out from the farmer or the landowner. You know, once the beans start turning yellow, there's no more harm for you to seed stuff in there. And yeah, the farmer may damage some of it when he's harvesting the soybeans, but so what? Okay, you acknowledge the fact that's a cost that you're gonna eat a little bit, that's fine. And talk with the farmer that's actually farming it, or the owner. Maybe they don't want you to put cereal grains out into it because they don't want green up back in the next spring. Some of them, that they really don't like that. Some of them, it's fine with them. They're gonna burn it off anyways with glide come the spring before the planting. Just talk to them, multiply that. Don't let the only thing that you let happen to your soybean plots is they yellow, die, and then you have pods, and that's it. You are wasting so much viable ground. It's ridiculous. So, this is Ty. God bless, and thank you for following along, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, or the website. You don't understand what it means to me that this thing has grown into something that people actually will watch and follow, and that's because of you. That's because of you guys out there watching. So hopefully this has been a little bit of a resource for you, entertaining. Maybe you killed a lunch period today, or a lunch break by watching Small Acre Hunting. For that, I thank you, and be sure to check back for more videos in the future. And as always, God bless and good luck out there.